I apologize to everybody. I just always want to do that while everybody's standing up talking. It happened to turn 9 o'clock, so that's my bad. We'll call the fiscal court to order this morning. First of all, if you will, let's all stand and say the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can y'all hear and understand me all right with this mask on? Everybody good with it? First order of business will be, Madam Clerk, if you'll report the minutes.
Minutes of the October 21st, 2020 meeting. Would you like me to read those in full, sir?
I'd rather you didn't, but if you'd like to.
That's great. So I'll present to the court the meetings that were at Barn at the White Oaks on October 21st and ask for the court's approval.
Does any member wish for her to read them at length? You have copies in your packet. Okay, I have a motion. Second. Squire Hale. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Madam Treasurer.
On your financial cover sheet for October 31st, 2020, receipts were $8,581,483.81. Disbursements were $3,785,272.46. Ending cash balance is $4,796,211.35.
You heard the report on the financial statement. Need a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion second to approve the financial statement. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, Treasurer.
Your total October encumbrances for general fund was $1,085,453.43. The road fund was $732,815.29. The jail fund was $33,893.53. The 911 fund was $24,351.17. You'll notice the additional sheet that I just gave y'all this morning. General fund had an additional $5,042.88. Road fund had an additional $105.99.
Any questions on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to pay the bills? Second.
Motion second to pay the bills. I will note to everybody that might be interested, the road fund, all of our paving basically is in that one chunk. Is the reason it's so much paving and chip seal, all those bills. I think everything's in there, but I guess Robertson. Does that sound about right?
Mm-hmm. And then on the general fund, why it's so high this year or this month is because it's the payout of the CARES grant that we received.
Okay, we have a motion second to pay the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Treasurer.
I got one cash transfer. We're going to transfer from general fund to Murray Bank to the road fund Murray Bank in the amount of $600,000.
Motion. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on the agenda, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, what's next on the agenda?
I have new business ordinances, second reading budget amendments for public comment.
At the October meeting, you were presented a budget amendment by the treasurer that included $8,000 for the mineral severance taxes, 368,000 for the Federal CARES Act through DLG, and 25,000 for the election grant from the Center for Technical and Civic Life. Right now, we will go into a public meeting. Anybody here can comment regarding that before I'll entertain a motion to, well, I guess we ought to have the motion to approve it first and then go. Which way does that work? Need motion first? Yes. Okay, need a motion to approve the second reading of that budget amendment that we originally passed last month. Have a motion? Second. Okay. Does any member of the court have a discussion about this and what all it involves or anything? Don, do you have a question?
Well, I don't know if you told me about, I had a question on the COVID money, that we're getting back on those grants. Is that going to pertain to this?
Yes.
Okay, I guess, Tanya, I was wondering how it's going to be deposited. I know we had a little discussion on it Monday, but I was a little confused how it's going to be deposited.
Okay, so what we got reimbursed for was the sheriff's payroll and the jail payroll. So what we get reimbursed.
So I guess my question is, did that money come out of their account?
Yes,
Okay.
and it has to go back.
That's what I need
It
to know.
has to go back into their accounts,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, any other member of the court? Okay, any member of the public, Hawkins, you got any questions about it or anything? Anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll proceed to vote on the approval of this will be the second reading of that ordinance that was passed last month. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk.
First reading of budget amendment.
Okay, since our last meeting, we've had two more grants secured. One was for $959,000, which is the remainder of the federal's CARES money from the Department of Local Government, and a grant of $295,897.30 for new voting machines, again from the Center for Technical and Civic Life. That was, I mean, it's a duplication kind of what we just passed with the second amendment. Is there any questions about that, or I need a motion, but is there any questions about that? Don uses, I mean, it's the same explanation for this, only we're getting the rest of the money. Okay, I need a motion. Okay. Squire Crutcher, second.
Second.
Squire Reister, seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk.
First reading of the cable franchise agreement.
Okay, as you recall, last month, I think or the last 2 months, we did the franchise agreement on the telecom internet. No, this is cable. Okay, this is the cable franchise. We're doing the same thing with it that we did last month. Maybe you ought to explain that.
Brian had just given me instructions that there's a difference between the cable franchise and the telecommunications, and this is just the counterpart to the telecommunications that you guys had already done. So it's essentially a mirror image is the way he described it to me.
If I understand it right, we have to do two separate ones. I mean, you'd think this is all in one package, it's wires running down the road and all that, but we have to have two separate ones. Linda Ain has got us all straightened out on this, I think, once and for all, and then this will help us, I think, in the future as we negotiate these franchises with the different people, and it'll set some ground rules that we've not heretofore had or haven't been able to follow very well. So I need a motion, appreciate a motion to give the first reading of a cable franchise agreement, and then assuming it passes today, we come back next month, have a second reading and a public hearing on that.
Make that motion to approve.
A second? Squire Rister, Squire Hale. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. There are copies of these two ordinances, Hawkins out here, and a member of the general public, if they so desire, can come by and pick up or review those copies. Madam Clerk?
Nuisance hearing.
Mr. Assistant County Attorney, you're on deck.
Don't put me on the spot or anything.
No.
If we can call Miss Manning as a witness, would you be more
Go
comfortable?
down.
Yeah,
I don't care.
it'd be easier, because I can see you.
You swear?
Yeah. Can you raise your right hand? And you swear the testimony you're about to present is truthful to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Okay. Can you state your name for the record?
Gidget Manning,
Okay, and how are you employed?
solid waste coordinator, insurance for the county.
Okay. What is what's the address of the property that you've been investigating?
596 yesterday, and made pictures, they have pictures to
Okay.
look at.
Hold that in your hand, get you. I think it'd be better.
Do you have a copy of those pictures in front of you?
I do.
Okay. And I believe each of the magistrates have a copy? Okay. You personally took these photographs?
I did yesterday.
Okay. And can you go explain what we're seeing?
Okay, I'm not sure yours is stapled in the exact order that mine are, but the one you will see is where the property is growed up. Looks like it hasn't been mowed or maintained at all this year, probably in 2 or 3 years. There is a bus. There is a car on the other side of that bus. There are multiple tires and trash. Looks like parts of cars that are laying on one side of the house. I mean, that's about as close as you can see what's there.
Okay. Do you have that copy in front of you,
Of,
the photographs? Yes. I'd like to move and enter that into the court's record,
okay,
so that could be part of their deliberations. So in your opinion, do you believe this violates the nuisance
I do.
ordinance?
I do.
Okay. And you have sent the letters and you have sent the notice as required by the ordinance?
Yes, and I have there's a separate picture where our sheriff, Nikki Knight, he volunteered to go trape through the weeds for me to post the notice on the front door. And a notice was mailed to Mr. Spillers in Florida.
Okay.
And I have, sorry,
What was that notice for?
it was for to appear in court
Today?
today,
Okay.
yes.
So,
And this is from the post office where it has been delivered.
okay. So you sent certified mail and posted on the property?
Yes,
Okay. I'd also like to enter those into the record as well, exhibits A, B, C for the court. And so you deal with the nuisances for the county?
I do.
Okay. So sometimes you have an issue that's kind of a close call, sometimes you have one that's not really a nuisance, sometimes you have one that's clearly a nuisance.
Right,
Is it fair to say this is clearly a nuisance?
I would.
no doubt in your mind?
No,
Okay. And you've been,
almost, yes.
Okay.
Have been helping with it, yes.
oh, okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, unless anybody else would.
Thank you,
attend to the
David.
witness.
Members of the court have questions of Gidget or of David of the process and all that we're going through. This is somewhat similar to what we did out behind the Yamaha shop, I don't know, 6 months ago, or maybe not that long.
Not a question, just a comment. As magistrate in that district, I have 3 calls since I've been in office about the property, which I've talking to Ms. Manning about, and she's told me every time that it's being dealt with or it's in the process. It does have automobiles in it. It does have a lot of garbage and waste. The house is dilapidated. I think it meets the criteria of a nuisance property. Squire Hale asked me if it was in the county because Utterback Road is divided up city-county, and the parcel of land that it lays on is in the county.
It is on the north side of Butterback Road.
Yes, actually, there's a section on the north side of Utterback that is county landlocked. It includes 5 or 6 houses, and everything around it is city, but it is still on county jurisdiction.
So if we clean it up, the city would probably likely want to annex it or something like that. It's just, et cetera.
I'd be glad to give it to them if they would like it.
So, David, what's the proper thing for us to do now? Vote as a court to,
Not yet. If we can go ahead and excuse Miss Manning. Have you seen Mr. Spiller here? No. Okay. Sheriff, can you call the hall or announce anybody that has a property interest in 596 Utterback Road? And see if anybody's here? Outside? Yeah. Okay. For the record, the sheriff has called the hall. There's nobody answering the call for a property interest in 596 Utterback Road. And Miss Manning has spoken with Mr. Spiller, knows him, and he's not present. And it's our understanding he's down in Florida. The testimony was that there was certified mail sent to him. That evidence is put in the record, and a photograph of the notice posted pursuant to the nuisance ordinance put in the record, so he has proper notice of the proceedings. So I think all administrative requirements have been met. I think it's now time for the court to make a determination of 2 things. You'll first need to make a determination of is there a nuisance. You'll have to vote and make a finding on that. If you were to find that there's a nuisance, then you need to make a recommendation as to what would be the appropriate remedy. And I can go through you've got 4 options there. So I think probably the easiest thing for you to do is to make a motion as to whether or not there's a nuisance. If you were to find there's a nuisance, then we can move on to step 2. If not, then step 2 is not necessary.
does that need to be in the form of a motion?
Yes.
I'll,
Motion that this property meets the nuisance property conditions.
I'll second that.
I'll second that motion.
I already did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna turn my hearing aid off.
Any further discussion on the motion to declare it a nuisance property? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, Dave, go through.
Okay. There's four remedies listed in the nuisance ordinance. 2 of them kind of run together, but essentially you could refer this to court for a criminal action. That has been done in the past. It's my understanding that Mr. Spiller lives in Florida. And so, he's not gonna come here unless the court were to issue warrants for his arrest, probably. So we would have to extradite him from Florida on a misdemeanor charge, which is the sheriff has to pay for that essentially. So you're gonna incur thousands and thousands of dollars to even get him to court, to go through a criminal process. If you want my 2 cents, I would discourage that. The other two options are to fine up to $50 a day, until he cleans it. And then once you get to a certain point, where the fines were over the value of the property, the county could then look at a foreclosure action against the property. Foreclosure actions still have to go through a court lawsuit in circuit court. You have to go through a master commissioner. It's not something that's easy. It's going to take a substantial process, and it's also not going to be cheap. Even your master commissioner fees are going to add up over time. Probably the most economical route would be, if the court were to clean up the property and then take the value of what it costs to clean the property up and then put a lien on the real estate. So if it ever got sold or foreclosed against or anything, the county would have a perfected lien. That's probably the most economical, and it's my understanding that's what the court had chose to do in the past. So those are really the three options.
So if we chose the third option, we go ahead and clean it up at the county's expense. And by cleaning it up, what does that process entail as far as going out there with dump trucks and just gathering it all up? Or do we have the authority to sell something that might be worth something, i.e. a vehicle, which is a part of the problem?
I think that's what they've done in the past, is scrapped some of the,
To scrap, and there's metal and there's stuff laying there that we can take to the scrap.
to help recoup some of the costs.
Okay, what if there were something though that were of value that the value would exceed scrapping it? I mean, is there a process there?
To sell it, are you saying
Do you take bids on it, or?
I do not know that. If that were the case, we can figure that out down the.
Okay, we figure out scrap value, and if somebody offered more money than the scrap value, then we'd be okay in doing that properly.
Yeah, I mean, it's taxpayer money, so as long as you're getting the best interest of the taxpayer, then that should be fine.
Do we need to go into an executive session to discuss this, or
I mean,
we can?
you are allowed to go into executive session if you felt the need to, if just for discussion only, not an actual vote. If you don't feel like you need to go into executive session, if you feel pretty comfortable on something like this, you don't have to. It's your decision.
On the third option, is he given one more chance? You got 30 days, or we're gonna come in and clean it up?
No,
Or
it's
is it automatic?
It's whenever you, I mean, he could clean it up, he might be cleaning it up today, but we know he's not. So, no, whenever you guys schedule that, and however you do it, that's sort of up to, Ms. Manning and her department, is when they get it scheduled and how it gets going.
And what about a levying of a fine per day or something like that? Is that a separate action?
That's a separate action. Like I said, the most economical is to go in, clean it up, get a bill for how much that costs the county, and then we'll prepare liens and file those on the property.
So are y'all comfortable in us going ahead and making a motion to do that? And I will make a motion to adopt basically the third option of go in and start the cleanup process. Do due diligence, I guess, for lack of a better word, to be sure we're maintaining, protecting to the best we can the extent of the value of any personal property there. And at the same time, get the property cleaned up on behalf of the taxpayers of the county. Is that a sufficient wording?
I believe so, yeah.
Question for Ms. Manning, when we talk about clean it up, are we just talking about the vehicles or the house itself?
The nuisance will have to be abated. So,
that would include the house, which looks pretty dilapidated?
I mean, we need to move the vehicles and, you know, get the trees and stuff out of the way before we can really see anything else but the front of the house. We'll just have to see what it looks like when we get to, as we go.
But if we determine that, rather than having to come back to the court, are we clear to, the whole court can go out there and look, make the determination need be, and the house need to be taken down?
yeah, I mean, let's make that clear that you're abating the nuisance on the property. That could include the vehicles, it could include the structure. When you're voting on this remedy, you're giving the county permission to go in there and abate the nuisance, whatever the nuisance might be. It could be they cut the grass and the school bus looks good and there's no more nuisance. It's probably not gonna be the case. So they're gonna have to go see what all's in there.
If that is acceptable and covered under the motion that I just made, then I would assume once we've got it sort of cleared away, we could go out there as a full court or members that wanted to and make that determination. Would that sound reasonable? Okay.
Go ahead. I second your motion
Okay.
to go with the third option.
Okay. Motion second then to, well, we've already declared it a nuisance, to seek to remedy the nuisance by going out and starting to start cleaning the property up. And to what extent, David, do we notify the property owner of what we're doing? And
We can send him another certified letter, but at this point, he was given notice, and his due process rights have been protected, by numerous correspondence, but specifically this hearing,
Okay.
To which he has not availed himself.
Very good. All right, you've heard the motion, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Memorandum of Understanding for 911 Grant, Mr. Nathan Baird.
Mr. Nathan, would you approach the court?
Morning, gentlemen. So this year I'm writing 2 grants for the 911 Homeland Security Grant Fund. I'm trying to partner with Murray State. They need radio consoles, we need radio consoles, so we can work together and increase our likelihood of getting the grant. In doing so, I'm also writing another one for roads and trying to audit our roads and get some of that stuff done. And they need some GIS stuff also, so we're trying to write basically 2 grants, should come out around 400,000 if we get both of them. And look in front of you, it just basically saying that we can work together and try writing these grants together.
These are through Homeland Security, correct?
Yes. The 911 side of Homeland Security.
We would need a motion for authorization then to sign an MOU to establish the partnership with Murray State, and to that end to apply for and try to obtain 2 2021 grants from Homeland Security.
So moved.
Have a motion? Second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Resolution to adopt county road aid.
Okay, as you know, we met Monday, and at that time, we did not have the contract from the state. I got those about 1:30 Monday afternoon. It's the discretionary funding request that we sent up several months ago. They have granted us 1.2, I forgot the exact numbers, but it's 1.2 million plus for resurfacing, I think it was 13 roads, 11. Anybody have those in front of him? Okay. But anyway, they have approved, the commissioner sent me the contracts. I'm asking for authorization to sign those contracts. Obviously, the paving won't be done until next spring, and we can't do anything until the Secretary Gray actually signs a contract, but they are approved for all purposes and intents. And before we take a motion to do that, let me kind of explain and give credit where credit's due. This money, $1.2 million, comes out of the discretionary fund, which is technically the Secretary of Transportation's fund. That's the way it's listed in heading. But Governor Beshear obviously has ultimate authority over that, and he did approve these grants. It's $1.2 million, and I think the thing that we ought to be especially appreciative for in Callaway County is the fact that the total funding entire state was only $10 million. So we got over 12% of the entire funding for the entire state from the governor's discretionary fund, or technically the secretary's. But a lot of effort went into doing that, and I am very personally, as judge, and I think as a court, very appreciative to get that, because it's been a long time coming. It was a long process, but the governor's office and Secretary of Transportation thought what we had applied for was worthwhile. We were very diligent, I think, in putting a good package together that was reasonable. Michael Oliver has gone out and looked at the roads, made the recommendations. So we've had the support from our level all the way up to get this. But the biggest emphasis is that I want to reiterate that fund had normally been $30 million from the time I was up there before, and because of the COVID and the budget being passed this year, it was cut down to $10 million. And I just wanted to emphasize the fact that Callaway County got 12% of that entire statewide fund. So with that, I would ask you for a motion to authorize me to go ahead and sign that, return it to the Secretary for his signature. Should get that back way before the weather will permit us to get them blacktop, but then that'll all be done. We have motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Noes? Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Presentation of the bicentennial book, Bobby Bryant.
Miss Bobby? Thank you for coming today to kind of update us on where we're trying to get to, if we can all get through this.
It's my joy to be here. I really appreciate the invitation. I'm going to remove my mask so you all can meet me face to face.
Pull that mic down a little
Sure.
bit, Bobby.
Let me. Is that going to be any better?
Yeah, he's going to come in and tune it in.
Okay, all right. I just want to greet you today and thank you all for trusting me with such a awesome project. Celebrating the county's 200th anniversary is pretty amazing, and I have to tell you, I have been a little daunted by the task. And it has been made much easier because of the folks that have stepped up to participate with the project. I'm grateful to the Callaway County Genealogical and Historical Society, the volunteers there. And there are a number of folks in the community who have already agreed to write articles and stories to submit. Gina just handed me a folder full of newspaper clippings and things that are coming forward. So we are really beginning to get a lot more interest. And of course, people are just now beginning to hear about the project. I know the judge had gotten out early on to discuss it. And with COVID, we've not been able to have any in-person meetings. I have tried to communicate broadly by email and phone, but just encourage anyone in the community that is interested in participating. We are on a timeline, of course, but from now until September 1st of next year, I will be accepting anyone's contributions. We are taking story ideas. I'm happy to write for someone if they're not comfortable writing, but certainly want everyone in the county to feel that this is a countywide project and everyone is welcome to participate. I've got hundreds of ideas and names of people that we want to remember for their contribution to the community. So I'll just stop there, and there is a handout that Gina printed and put in your packets for me that gives you the basics of the project. I will touch on the timeline is at the bottom, working timeline. We're about midway through. I started with the county, I guess it was started in April, late March, right as COVID hit, probably late March. And so it's become a part-time job for sure, just trying to get things working forward. But I feel like we're on track to hit the deadline. And the more people that step up to participate, the faster that will go for us. So I'll entertain any questions that you have, and just appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this project. Any questions?
Court have questions for Ms. Bobby?
Okay. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm really honored to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Bobby, we appreciate what you're doing, and I think what we're doing now with you putting it together will be of value long after this court is in session, because it will be a reference thing for years and years to come. I would just encourage you, if Ronald Wiseheart calls you with stories and tales, he can write 10 volumes, or you could just from tales he can tell. So be careful with Ronald, but I say that obviously in jest. So.
Well, we appreciate you all, and please help us get the word out about the project and encourage people to contribute. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
On other business, authorization to surplus vehicle.
Okay, Nikki, you want to come up and tell us what we're doing here?
Judge in the court, I'm asking, we've got a 2011 Ford F-150. It's got well over 160,000 miles on it. We're wanting to surplus it. I'm hoping to take that money and put it towards another vehicle. But I need permission to surplus.
Questions?
You gonna do that online?
I think I'm gonna talk and see if I can't trade it. We just put 2 vehicles online, on Gov Deals. They're not bringing, one of the people that bought one of the vehicles on Gov Deals, I think it sold for $2,025. A week later, he took it home and sold it for $3,000. So he made some money off of it. David Taylor's has told me that at auction, this truck should bring somewhere between $11,000 and $12,000. If he'll give me close to that on a trade, I think trade is the safer way to go on it. That's my thoughts. But it will either be traded or on Gov Deals.
I just think in cases like this, as we do that, we have to give deference to the judgment of, sheriff or if it's the road department or whomever it is. And I mean, they'll come back to court with it or report to us, not ITU, what the deal is, to be sure we're satisfied that we've done the best we can for the taxpayers, so. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to, declare that particular piece of equipment surplus.
Motion to surplus. Second.
Motion second, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Bid acceptance for emergency management truck.
Thank you.
Okay, Chesley here? No. Okay. We got one bid, for the emergency management truck. It was from the Callaway County Fire and Rescue for $10,000. Again, that was the only bid we got. That's probably a reasonable, I think, just from what I saw of the truck and all, I think it's a reasonable bid both for us and for the rescue department. I need a motion to approve the sale then to them. Motion? Second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Bid acceptance for voting machines.
Okay. Madam Clerk, you want to kind of explain what's going on here?
So the county's been in need of new voter machines just simply because we've had them for over 15 years, closer maybe even to 20 years. We've asked in the past for the court to approve that, and it is a substantial amount of money. When COVID arrived, we were offered a grant from a civic and technology organization, Gina and Ed Davis, and got that up for us, and they granted us enough money to buy these new Verity voting machines. The bid was turned in by Harp Enterprises, which is our current vendor. On behalf of the County Board of Elections, I would ask that you approve this bid. The money's there, it's available, and it's now. This won't hold off until the future, but we will have to have new machines in the future.
Point being, I think too, Madam Clerk, is that I think we have to do this something by December 31st.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay, and this is a full $295,000 package, but basically we have to spend it. I mean, if we don't spend it on the voting machines, we have to turn around and send it back, is what it
Okay.
boils down to. And like Madam Clerk said, you know, the machines, as far as I know, all work perfect. They are getting some age on them, whatever that means in the electronics world, but you have a copy of the bid from Harp. The only thing I'd question about that, and I would certainly be in favor of going ahead and approving the bid, but $2,500 for shipping from Lexington, Kentucky. I think they could probably allow us to come up and pick them up and refund us $2,500 maybe.
So the machines would be shipped from one place to Callaway County if we had means for an 18-wheeler to come in and deliver them. My understanding was this amount would get them to Harp Enterprises and then brought down here in a more appropriate way for our city, for our delivery. But I could definitely discuss something like that with them to see.
I would just ask them, that just
Okay.
kind of, I don't know, didn't sit well with me, but I guess it's any difference in a car dealer having destination charge, and doesn't matter whether it's a big car, a little car, or whatever.
And it's part of the grant.
And it is covered under the grant, yes.
One thing I will mention, the machines that we have now, there's no resale for anything like that. Harp is willing to take those machines that we have and destroy those, you know, in with all this, no extra fee. So they'll actually pick those up, which are the tall black machines and the gray kind of suitcase looking machines that we have, and they'll dispose of those accordingly.
Maybe we ought to keep one put out here with the other antique and
Yeah.
show the process over the last, I don't know if y'all have noticed that. If you're not, we've gotten one of the machines that were used, I think, from the 60s to 75, and maybe Harp can help find us the keys to.
He's looking for you.
Okay, great. But I just thought that was those of us that are old enough to remember the old buttons where you or the old machines where you had to go in. Those things weigh 700 pounds. It took half the road department to help get it in here, it seemed like. And Richard, I appreciate them helping do that. That trying to get several men around something that heavy and get it off a pickup truck and all was somewhat challenging. So we need a motion then to approve the purchase of that. Again, it's grant money, 100% grant money to buy the new machines and handle all the pickup of the old ones and all that stuff.
Question first.
Sure.
So the 295,000 matches the second part of that grant that we got?
That's right.
What's gonna happen to the other 25,000 that we originally got?
So whatever's not used for other election, that has to be returned to that civic and engineering, but we're eating away at that.
So there may be other election needs tied to these machines?
No, not to these machines. Things that we had to take care of, additional sanitizers or additional, signage or shields, that sort of thing would come out of that 25, the first monies that we got.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
If we have some left, and I don't know if you all are aware, I think we had 5 people slip and fell out here through no one's fault. It's just, coming up those 2 steps. I believe it was 5, maybe. Does that sound right? 3 of them we had to call an ambulance in. We've talked to Jason Staylor about putting a couple of rails out there. I don't know if this is after the fact, but if we theoretically we're going to use this building later on, I think it would be a legitimate expense to use that. How much was his bid, Gina? 35 for 2 stainless steel. I don't know that we want stainless. I was going to talk to him more about powder coating, just to be sure. But rather than having one rail in the center, and that's the reason there used to be one out there, the best I recall. But when you're trying to bring something in, the 2 front doors, and those are the biggest doors for entry into this building, you need those 2 rails. And then plus if you've got traffic as we had election day. But I just think that would be something for us to look at if we could use those monies for that. And then second, I do think we really need to do that to be proactive with ADA compliance and all that, because our insurance will cover the claims and all that. But if we can keep, and they were just slip and falls, just like any of us do every day. I mean, it wasn't negligence on our part in any way, but they got some of the things to highlight. Those were actual steps, and it even after we got those down, I think 2 or 3 of the falls happened after that. But it's just somebody walking up there, especially somebody older, walking with a stick, a cane. Of course, we had the wheelchair back here for those that came up the ramp and all. But I just think I'd like for you to see if maybe that'd be a possibility of using that for that.
Of course.
Paul, did that answer your question?
Then I'd make a motion
Okay.
that we accept the bid.
Okay. Second? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk.
DES auction results.
Okay, I have those from the sale of the DES building. The real estate building part of it sold for $75,000. Where's my note? Which we netted $71,250 after the sales fee with Shea, and then the personal property we netted $2,395 for a total of $73,645. All of those have been paid, deposited in the Treasury, so it's a total of $73,645 for both the real estate and all the equipment and stuff that was sold down there. I have, if anybody needs them, I've got the contracts and all, Paul, and fees and all that. So, but the deed's been transferred. I assume, Gidget, we've notified CAECO and all that, got the utilities squared
Have we
around.
closed on it, or
Yes.
we're totally done with it?
Yes,
Okay.
and we need to be sure all the utilities have been properly transferred. Okay, that, I guess, was just a report. I don't think we need a motion or anything relative to that. Madam Clerk?
Airport audit?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just notifying, the court members that we have received the audit as required by, statute from both the auditor's office and the library. Both of those are, available if any of the court members would like to, review either one of those. It's an annual audit report for the airport and the library also. Okay, Gina, have you got anything from the Administrative Ordinance Committee?
The Administrative Code Ordinance Committee met on November the 9th. You have a copy of their minutes in your packet. I'll just make mention to one piece of old business and one new. The committee had been looking at the drug-free work policy, which you all actually passed a revised copy of that at your last meeting. Due to some of those changes, we had also been looking at a possible way to save the county some money. And the idea was that we might be able to utilize the jail staff to actually do the drug testing for our employees. But after some discussion and some research into that, it's pretty much been determined since that meeting that the jail cost would be about the same as what we have been incurring with an outside vendor. So with that information, the motion, I guess, would be to go ahead and move forward with either renegotiating or putting out a new bid for someone to do our drug testing starting January 1st. The other item that I'll mention under new business is we talked about the Code of Ethics. There was some discussion about our Code of Ethics needing to be revised or at least be looked at. I think it was written in 1970, so it's been a while. The Code of Ethics Board actually is scheduled to meet on Monday, December the 16th at 3 p.m., I believe, in Brian's office. So they are going to take the first look at that and then make any recommendations to the committee, which we'll consider and then bring to the fiscal court. So, and we also have had one letter of resignation from that board. So at the next meeting in December, we'll need to replace that board member. So that is the report. The next meeting is December the 7th.
Okay, when is the resignation effective? Or was it?
If I'm not mistaken, it was immediately, so.
Okay. If you
But
all.
that meeting is after your next fiscal court meeting, so.
It's after?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you all or Hawkins, maybe somewhere, some point in time, have a recommendation for a replacement board member, Ed Davis will be, is resigning. And we'll talk about that more next meeting, but he's probably going to be moving to Tennessee to be closer to his daughter and your granddaughter. But we'll need a new member, so if anybody has recommendation or somebody has some interest in it. The board historically hasn't met very often. I recall only once in probably 20 years, but I think the way it's set up, they are supposed to meet annually, discuss any ethics issues we may have or changes we may have to look at with our administrative code. So you all be thinking about that, and if you have a recommendation for somebody, let me know or have them contact our office. Tire collection, I think we had 35,000 tires collected over that 2.5-day period. And I think that's remarkable in and of itself, because basically, it sounds like we're just doing a nice service and all that, but if you look at the long-term effects of what that accomplishes is it keeps tires and debris out of our ditches, our gutters, our fields, our trash piles, and I just can't thank everyone enough for the responsibility that basically in part our farm community took to stack those. I think 3 years, this is the first one in 3 years that people have had to stack those and store them, but they've been responsible in not carrying them off and digging a hole and burying them somebody or throwing them in a ditch. I know Gidget, constantly when they go out on these solid waste sites, that's usually one of the bigger problems. And if you saw some of those tires that came down there, we're talking about stuff that most of us wouldn't want to pick up and throw up in a truck. So I just think it was a tremendous success. I appreciate the help of the road department and Gidget in particular for getting it organized. To my knowledge, it went off pretty much without a hitch. Anything you want to say about it?
No, it was good. I just appreciate everybody bringing them in and being really good with it.
I just want to acknowledge Bobby Hill's with us today. He's kind of representing, Bobby, stand up. He's with the Farm Bureau and Soil Conservation, kind of representing both groups, and just to acknowledge his presence here. As you know, we in Callaway County try to work very closely, particularly with both of those groups, and just the fact that he's here at our meeting. We try to go to their meetings on a regular basis. I know I'm Farm Bureau at least a couple times a year, and the conservation districts at least once. And Bobby, appreciate you being here and the work that our farm community and conservation, which sometimes are kind of in tandem, but that's what I wanted to say about how I think when we get into conservation and environmental stuff that probably those two organizations really lead the pack. They're kind of the unsung heroes of our efforts. I mean, most of you can remember and I know when the rains we've had, we get a lot of mud and all that, but if you just look at how much we're able to conserve and preserve our farmland and take care of the environment to the extent we can, I just want you all to know how much we appreciate that. We appreciate you passing that along. Sam, do you want to address the court about anything? This is kind of irregular. Normally you're supposed to ask for permission to come before the court, but if you've got something you want to address, or we can meet after session. I know what the issue is, so.
Can we just meet after? I think they
Yeah.
solved it.
Yeah,
I think they
okay, let's do that.
I'm good.
Yeah, you can meet with Squires, and I'll find something else to do.
Antonia said she solved it.
Huh?
Antonia's got it.
Okay, okay, we'll meet in my office after we get through, if you don't mind, please. All right, Squires, Squire Hale, Squire Reister, Shirley.
I did have a few things on my mind from the park board. A thing that they're going forward with is renovating the fourplex ball fields. The city sets aside $40,000 in their budget for infrastructure in the park. And so to help add a new surface to the ball field so that they dry out quicker, they're going to spend about $52,000, 40 of it coming from the city, the other 12 coming from another line item in their budget. The reason that's important is this year alone, we lost 2 large tournaments to other parks like Mayfield, who has this brick substance that's on the fields, which absorbs water. And so hopefully with these upgrades, we won't lose tournaments, and our community will profit from restaurant business, hotel business, just people coming into our community for these large baseball tournaments. I'm also sit on the transit board. We've met twice. That board is currently looking at developing a website and just kind of figuring out the direction we're going to go once money starts coming in with the transit tax money later next year. Last thing, just a couple of shout outs, again, being from the park board, during the Trail of Treats. I know I was told one car got stuck, back on the back road. Max's Towing came and pulled them out for free. Also, Sherman Williams and Henry and Son Painting, donated thousands of dollars to have the playhouse in the park scraped and repainted. So just shout out to those people in the community that donate their services.
I think that's important, Paul, that we recognize that, and the public knows there are good citizens around doing that. And what you're speaking of with ball fields and all that, to have lost 2 tournaments with our pillow tax or whatever you call that going into effect January the 1st, I think that's going to be vital that we do our level best to keep the restaurants, hotels and all, give people reason to come here, and that's just, all this just kind of fits together. Squire of the 3rd District, Mr. Squire Terry.
Yes, Judge, thank you. I had a question I noticed on our expenses paid out this time, we had the Murray paving, $256,000. And I just wondering on the flex spending money, has all the paving been done now on the flex program for this year except Robertson Road? Is that the only road that hasn't been done?
As far as I know,
Is that going to be what, next spring, or do we know?
well, I think it kind of dependent, I don't know where he is on the weather and the paving, but I mean, it's built-in money, but I was hoping he could get it this fall. Richard, you got any, any?
It is the plan. I talked to Ronnie about it. If we do have the weather commensurate to do that, it will be done this fall.
Right. I mean, the money's there for it. We're good with that. It's just whether he can feel good about doing that. And I will also advise you, well, I did briefly Monday about maybe trying to get the state look, in particular at Robertson and maybe a couple other roads to eventually take over. I don't know why they wouldn't take Robertson now. We've got the drainage sort of fixed. It's going to be paved, and it's just that segment from 94 to Wistful that not state road, the north side of it is, so it would only make sense, but we'll be working on that. Anything else, Don?
No, thank you, Judge.
Squire Crutcher. All right. Anything from the else from the county attorney's office? Y'all back functioning?
Still limited. AOC, they keep changing guidelines, and then allegedly the governor's got new guidelines today, so we'll have to wait for the Supreme Court to kind of tell us. So we're doing what we can.
Got you. Ms. Tanya, Madam Treasurer, anything else? Tony, you got anything else?
They draw today at the Attorney General's office for voting audit, 20 counties every year. Callaway did not get drawn this year. We had a great run, everything went well, everything's accounted for, so I'm not concerned with that at all, but we're done with our election for 2020.
So I guess we can go ahead and give them the voting machines to destroy, and won't never be any questions anymore.
22 months later,
I got you. Thank you. Nikki, you got anything?
I don't, other than a kind of a suggestion, maybe we can send those voting machines we don't need to Georgia.
Just a thought, and point well taken. At least we could offer to donate them to them anyway.
You're gonna want us to destroy them.
Nathan, you got anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
Ken?
No, sir.
Okay. Richard?
No, sir.
Wow, Linda's not here. Anybody got anything you want to say? We rolled on this morning. Done good. Hawkins, would you like to address the court? All right. I think that's everything, unless anybody can. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor? We're adjourned.
Make sure that those 3 things pictures with the
Yes.
seat.
Yes, yeah.
Where did, what kind of record they need to go in, just her office file?
I got the original amendments. I'll go back over and get those and bring them over there for you to
Okay.
sign, and then I'll get them to.
Okay,
Frank.
we'll be here with Sam for a few minutes. I'll be here.